All right, hello students. This is Mr. Gee again. We're going to be going over a problem to help you get ready for the quiz tomorrow. This corresponds with problem number one that will be on the quiz tomorrow, and this is the only part of the review that I'm going to go ahead and do. So let's go ahead and read the problem here and get started. Let me turn on my pen here. It says graph the data and find the rate of change. Be sure that your rate of change is labeled with correct units of measurement. Answer any additional questions. So number one, it says Michael started a savings account and after 9 weeks he had saved $753, and after 23 weeks he had $1,880. What is the rate of change of money in the savings account per week? Part A, use the formula below to find how much he saves per week. Round your answer to the nearest dollar. So we know the vertical change is up and down, the horizontal change goes with the y-axis. And this formula tells us that we need to subtract dollars from dollars and then weeks from weeks. So if you look right here, we know our first ordered pair. Let me bring up, here it is down here. We know our first ordered pair is 23 weeks, $880, and then our second ordered pair is 9 weeks and $753. So we'll go ahead and mark that down here. So we've got 9 and 753, and then we've got 23 and 1,880. So now let's go ahead and put it in our formula. So we know that the larger number goes first on top, so 880 minus 753 divided by 23 minus 9. So if we go ahead and put that in our calculator, so 1880 minus 753 is $1,127. And then we can do this in our head. 23 minus 9 is 14 weeks. And now we want to convert this to how much per week. So we divide the bottom by 14 and the top by 14. So 1127 divided by 14. That gives me $80.50 over 1 week. So that's how much he saves per week. And then it asks us right here, don't forget this, it has to be to the nearest dollar. So when I round that to the nearest dollar, I get $81 every 1 week. So this part right here, that answer right there, and that answer right there, those are worth 3 points. And then when you take it down to where you know how much per week, that's worth 3 points. Now we have to get ready to start graphing. Now it says here, what is the rate of savings per 2 weeks? Well, I have it for 1 week. So if I take 81 over 1 week and I want it for 2 weeks, well, to get 2 weeks, I have to multiply the bottom by 2. So I have to do the top by 2. So that's $162 every 2 weeks. Now that's important because these are the units I'm going to use. So I'm going to use 2 weeks along the x-axis because the weeks is an independent variable. Independent variable goes with the x-axis, and the dependent variable is dollars, and dependent variables go with the y-axis. So there we go so far. So now let's move this up here and we can start getting ready to do our graphing. Now we know from our graph, if I give you the starting point, that's where you start your graph. If I don't give you the starting point, then you have to start with the lowest ordered pair. So I start here with 9. I know each unit goes up by 2, so 9 plus 2 that has to be 11. Add 2 is 13. Add 2 more, it's 15. And I get 17, 19, 21, 23. Add 2 more is 25. And I get 27. and then my last one is 29. So I'm showing from 9 to 29 weeks. Let's make sure I label my graph with the right units, so we know weeks go along the bottom. Now the horizontal one that goes along with the dollars, or the dependent variable, that's a little bit harder to find. We know that every time I go over 2 weeks, I go up $162. Okay, so if I go over 2, I go up 162. Over 2, I go up 162, and so forth. So now I have to start counting, and each one of these units going up is worth $162. So where do I start? At 753. So you'll take your calculator, 753, you're going to add 162. That gives you 915. Add another 162. That gives you 1,077. And so why don't you go ahead on your worksheet, go ahead and add these up and all the way to the top. And I'm going to go ahead and pause my video, and then you can finish yours, and then I'll finish mine. Okay, I'm back, and these are my dollar units coming up on the left-hand side, and then I have my weeks going across the bottom. And we know that every time I go over 2 weeks, I go up $161 and so forth. So we know that this line is going to end up being a diagonal line that cuts through the center of this coordinate plane. So over 2, up 162, over 2, up 162, and so forth. Over 2, up 162, and then it ends right up there. And because my units, everything's figured out so much based upon this nice unit per week, it makes sure that everything's nice and square. And so if you count over 2 and you don't go up to 161, or if you go less or more, then it's going to throw this off, and when you read up your weeks and you read over to your money, it's not going to work out. So you need to make sure that you do that right. And now we're going to draw our diagonal line. Cuts this graph in half, so this is where you need your straight edge. And there's my line. Okay, so this, if you can graph this correctly, that graph will be worth 3 points. So we've got 6 points for part A, part B for the graph is 3, and now it says here, part C, estimate how much savings he will have after 19 weeks. Draw lines on the graph to show how you arrived at your estimate. So please draw your lines so it's not hard for me to figure it out. So we start here. We go 19 weeks, you go up till it hits the line, and then from where it hits the line, you go over to the y-axis, or your independent variable, and where it hits, that's how much money he's going to have in 19 weeks. So in 19 weeks, he has how much money? $1,563. Okay, so now it says estimate the number of weeks it will take him to save $2,000. Draw your lines on the graph to show how you arrived at your estimate. So we're going to go ahead and do this in blue. Now this is a little bit harder. We know that 1887, that's almost 100 and what? 13 away from 2000. So this is closer to 2000 than this one. So I'm going to mark my line, and this just has to be an estimate. So I'm going to say that's right around 2000. It's got to be pretty close. It doesn't have to be exact because we're estimating, but it can't be down here. It's got to be closer to there. This number is closer to 2000 than this one. This is only about 50 away. This is a little over 100 away. So now that we've got that line, we're going to go ahead and trace it up and over. Here, because we're starting with dollars, we're going to trace this way. So you take your straight edge, you draw you a nice straight line over to there. It hits there, and then from there you draw a nice straight line going down to the x-axis, and then you try to read off that point. Well, we know 24 is right there, so it has to be between 24 and 25 weeks. So estimate the number of weeks it will take him to save $2,000. Around 24 or 25 weeks. That's it. And make sure you show me your lines. So remember, if it asks you for the money first, you start with your money and you go backwards. If I ask you for the weeks first, you start with the weeks and go forwards. And you read your data off. Okay, so that's it for problem number 1. This is a little bit different from the baseball problem because the numbers are bigger. Your units per week are a little bit bigger, but how you do the problem is still the same. So good luck on your quiz tomorrow, and thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.